Good morning and welcome. Thanks so much for joining us this cold, brisk morning, wherever you are. I assume it's rather cold. It's minus 14 here in lovely Manitoba. But this is our Everyone Has a Plan Until They Get Punched in the Face webinar. Of course, it's a quote from our very famous panelist who's with us today, Tyke Myson. Tyke, how did you come up with that quote? Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
I mean, you know what, Dan, when you live the life, one morning I woke up and it's just, aha.
I thought maybe after a knockout it was a realization or something to that effect.
I don't let my fans know about that.
I
So
had a plan, then I got punched in the face, but I know as Batman, when I go out, I need to have a plan, and I also need to have an Alfred, and Alfred would be the equivalent of the agronomist, of which we have a number on the call today that I'm going to introduce shortly. But this is a follow-up to our last webinar. Hopefully you had a chance to attend. If you didn't, it's on YouTube. It was called Beyond Harvest, and we talked to these fine folks about gathering data and the importance of soil tests and tissue tests. I think this is a logical succession to that. We're going to talk about how to get that plan into action, what difference it makes to have a plan. We're going to look at some of the plans that folks here on the call have been preparing for their clients as they bring them the data. And the value of these plans is incredible. So I'd like to invite all of our friends on the call to ask any questions as we go along to make this the best session possible. You can do so by typing into the chat, or you can put a question in the Q&A, or you can put your hand up if you're super brave and extroverted, and I will call on you and we can speak. I'd also challenge our panelists, Tyke Myson, Bob Ross, and Spider-Man, to ask each other a question at some point too. Your questions could be just as good or better than mine. So let's have a fun morning learning today. So I want to get introducing our illustrious panel. Today with us on the call, Bob Ross. He's painted 10,000 paintings. He's got that Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours of painting going on, where he's unconsciously competent, and he's taught millions of people how to paint. He is his alter ego, of course, is Demetrius Teledis. He is the owner of 4R Agronomy. He has experience managing well over 100,000 acres and scouting 45,000 acres. He told me he soil sampled 420 fields this fall. So golf clap for that. Pretty impressive. And he's an expert in agronomy, plant genetics, waste management. He's a certified crop advisor and manure management planner. He'll be dishing the manure. No, he won't be dishing any manure today. Everything he says will be bona fide. No BS today, folks. I love that manure management planner.
Yeah.
And there's lots of
Good
talk of
morning.
manure on the Earth Dirt Soil Network. So I'm glad that you specialize in manure. It's good to know, Demetrius. So
Good morning to
welcome,
everyone.
Bob Ross. What will you be painting for us today, Bob?
I don't know. Maybe some phosphorus potassium blends, something like that. Or I'll see what is behind some mountains. Usually Bob Ross sees things that other people cannot see, so we'll try to do that as well. And I was thinking that probably this is the only tie I own. Like I'm not sure if I have any other ties at home. So I like this one.
Well, it works perfectly. It works perfectly. Very handsome painter here. So thanks for joining us and welcome. Next up, we have Tyke Myson. He's been punched in the head a lot. Hopefully he'll be relatively coherent, not too affected by all those concussions, but his alter ego is, of course, Fritz Britz. He is the integrator at SureGrow Solutions. Sorry, I got your costumes mixed up. You had your names backwards there. Tyke Myson is actually Deep Patel. Your costumes are so good, I can't tell who's who. He is the operations manager at SureGrow Solutions. Thank God for editing. He is originally from India, and he's moved to Saskatoon in 2011 with a focus on plant expertise, with a background in microbiology and biochemistry. I'd love to dig into that in the future. From Anand Agriculture University, and he's currently an articling agrologist, and he's on the path to becoming a certified crop advisor. Welcome, Tyke Myson.
Good morning, everyone.
He is a champion, by the way, so respect. And also we have with us today Spider-Man, whose alter ego is Fritz Britz. He's integrated sugar growth solutions. Fritz was raised on a mixed farm in northwestern South Africa, holds a genetics degree and MBA from Northwest University. He has 18 years in the seed industry at companies like Monsanto and Bayer, and Fritz has also managed his irrigation-based farm growing various crops and cattle. So today fits with the theme of my professional life, which is always be the least smart person in the room. I myself attended the University of Saskatchewan, but I did not necessarily attain any degree, but I certainly attended with good intention. So today we're going to get into talking about what it means to plan. You know, you've gone out, you've collected this data, you've got the soil tests, you got the tissue tests, and now you want to work with the producer to develop a plan for next year to be successful. And this is really critical. So I just want to go around the panel quickly here to get a feel for what you folks think is the value in planning, what difference it makes for people that have a written plan and stick to it when times get tough and you start getting those hits in the ring. What does that mean for you and your clients before we get into the 10-step program? So let's just go around the horn here and start with Bob Ross. When you go to paint a vista, what is the difference in having a plan and not having a plan, Demetrius? When you're painting when you're making a painting of that 65 bushel canola field in Manitoba waving in the wind, how do you bring that to life?
Well, first of all, I had to remove these glasses because I couldn't see a thing.
Upgrade.
Yeah, but well, most of the times the reality is most farmers and agronomists, we have a crop rotation plan for the next 2-3 years for the fields. So most of the farmers already know what crops they tend to have in some fields in 2 years from now. So we have this rotation plan in mind, and that helps us to make a plan for the fall and for the spring. Most of the guys farm lots of acres, so it's almost impossible to do everything in the spring. So having a plan helps you to do the soil sampling in the fall, have the soil test reports back, and make some recommendations so they can apply some of these fertilizers like phosphorus, potassium in the fall, and that will save them lots of time and stress from the spring. I think this is the most important thing, and I can see some years when we don't have time to do some of these applications in the fall. It can become very, very stressful, not only for the farmers, but also for us as well. So having a plan is crucial, is vital. I cannot imagine doing this job without having a plan.
Yeah. I like the idea of having a plan relatively early in the fall or early in the new year, so you can kind of sleep at night and you've got your course set out rather than ruminating on a bunch of things that you may or may not do. That's awesome. What about you, Deep? What do you see the value of planning with your clientele?
Well, I personally feel there's an immense value in the planning, as Demetrius said. You know, the analogy I would like to say is, you know how we talked about soil test and tissue test in our last webinar, right? So it's like getting your blood work done. The results are out now, and now you have to go see a doctor face to face, and the doctor is going to give you a plan of, okay, if your sugar is high, if your cholesterol is high, you know, maybe your liver functions are okay, maybe you have to hold back on that, you know, a little nightcap every now and then. So that's how I look at it, right? So now we know what's in the soil, we know what the future plan is, and now sitting with the grower, we can kind of help each other put those pieces in the game and make a plan for the goal, right? So
maybe the doctor said to you, cut down on the concussions between now and when I see you.
Or
next.
that, yeah. I mean, wrestling wasn't working out for me, so hence, you know, I'm trying out agronomy now.
Right on. What about you, Fritz? You're in the currently doing planning with customers. What does that look like? What's the value of doing that going into next year?
Well, I'm very excited when we get to planning, because this is the stage where we can really help our clients to save some money. You know, we always, you know, go at planning the next year, or thinking of, man, now I have to put down all that money into the ground again. And in this stage, we kind of look at take a stock what's already there, so to me the planning phase is the exciting phase of helping the client to now realize some of the previous good practices that he applied in his farm, and we can really start to see these results of good practices being done the previous year, by looking at the results of our soil test is an opportunity to help the client to know where exactly he can save some. Short of the story is planning to me, the better you plan, the better the savings become if you do your planning correct.
I like the idea that planning pays, going into a year where, things might be a little bit tighter and, there's going to be lots of challenges. At least you have a bit of plan. I wanted to share this 10-point plan visual. And this is from, can you guys see that?
Yep.
Yep.
This is from the old Agritrend days. And I think this was part of the brilliance that Agritrend brought to the agronomy community, if you will. And it's a 10-point plan that it's a roadmap to success for planning. Let's go around the panel, and if you guys could talk a little bit about this in the context of the conversation today. What does it mean to have a 10-step program? Where are we at in this program at this time of year? What do you see as the value when you slide this across the kitchen table? This is what we're going to be doing, and let's maybe reverse the order, and we'll start with Spider-Man this time. When you're hanging upside down and you're rock and rolling on the 10-point plan, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, Dan, I'm going to focus on step number 4, if I can jump the queue.
Do it.
Between
You're
between
Spider-Man.
3
You can
and
do what you
4,
want.
we that is exactly where we are sitting at the moment in this process. The 10 step is essentially the steps that we follow throughout the season with each one of our clients, and what the 10 steps entail to me is the fact that an agronomist can be part of your farming operation throughout the growing season. People think of an agronomist as just somebody that's involved in one piece of your business, but with this 10-step solution that we have in Sure Growth, we get the agronomist involved in the whole process of growing the crop and evaluating things, on a regular basis. And currently we are sitting in between steps number 3 and 4, where we are now. We've done all the sampling, and we're starting to look at some results, and then do the planning for next year, and we're moving into strategic plan, the strategic phase thereafter.
Yep, makes sense. Deep, what's your thoughts on the 10-step program? I mean, why is it not 11 or 3 or 72? What's the value
Well,
of
I
having
guess
10 steps?
10 is just the best number to have this. I'm a big advocate for this document. I'm really, really, really a big advocate for this document, because the entire process, right from seeding to harvest to crop plan, what happens all year round, has been broken down into 10 easy steps. And what I really love about this is it has a very well elaborated list of expectations on client side and deliverables on agronomists. So it's just think of it as a checklist, a quick checklist, if you may, that helps one understand chronologically what happens throughout the year, right? So as Fritz said, right now we are hovering between 3 and 4. Soon we'll be done with step 4, and then we'll be going into strategic crop plan, where we have some client meetings, sit down with them, get to know what they are thinking of for the next couple of years, and then make plan from there.
Yeah,
So
I like the
absolutely.
idea that it keeps the agronomists on track too, as well.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We got to hold you guys accountable too.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's why you guys are paying us big bucks. So
Demetrius, I mean, this is a holdover from AgriTrend, and of course, you might have your own systems, but you indicated you use this 10-step program as well.
Well, having a plan like this one, first of all, helps you to evaluate if your program is working or not. For example, with some guys, you have a plan to build some nutrients levels in soil. And going after harvesting and after having the soil test report back, you can check, and having these meetings with your clients, you can check and you can evaluate if your program is working or not, or if you need to change few things. And as you said, it makes sure that we do our job properly or not. And it's a process that helps both agronomists and farmers to go forward. I think that's the most significant thing of having a plan like this one.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you guys are looking at multi-year plans. Are you able to, I mean, crop rotation must be a really big part of that, Demetrius, knowing where you're at in the crop rotation and where you're going to plan for fertility?
Yeah, definitely. Like we use the Triple Act software, and we have access to every soil test and every tissue test we have done for these fields for as many years as we work with our clients. So for me, every time I want to decide what the phosphorus potassium blend is going to be, I look always on the previous year's soil test reports. Like I never make my decisions based on last year's soil test reports. And I think that's the biggest value of having reports every year for your fields. And as I said before, we can see, for example, with some clients, we have very high pH, and we adopt strategies that will help us lower going forward this pH. Can we do that? Have we managed to do that? So we have all the tools to follow if we are successful in our plans or not. Also with phosphorus levels, when we see that phosphorus levels are very low, like 4 or 5 ppm, and the farmer wants to build phosphorus levels, that is going to take 3 to 5 years at least to achieve something and to be able to see something on a soil test report. So it is important. That's why it is important to take your decision based on previous year's soil test reports.
What I like about this too, I was thinking over the years, you're going to have not only a record of the plans that you made, but how it turned out. And if you have a number of years, maybe even going out to a decade for some of your clients, you can pull up any given field, see all the plans, see all the results, see what you wanted to do, see where you got to. And that's got to start to inform your decision making as you get older and wiser and you survive the various, battles in the ring.
Yeah, exactly. And just to give you an example of this one, like it makes a difference if how do you apply your fertilizer. Like in some fields, it makes sense to apply most of your fertilizer seed placed. In some other fields, it makes sense to apply the fertilizers broadcast. But always having the data from the previous years helps you to understand like if your plan is working or not. And you have these discussions with your farmers, with your clients, and you decide how you can go forward.
Yeah, I was just looking at this crop plan. I'll bring it up here. And, the value of having things written down got to be incredible. Fritz, you had sent this to me. But Fritz, when you're looking at this strategic plan here, walk us through a little bit of these components and the value of them, and maybe we'll just go piece by piece here and get the folks to comment on it. But you started with the summary. Walk us through what kind of information you're providing in the summary on these reports.
Yeah, well, the summary for us is the process of just getting the feeling that we want to the general direction that we want to start to go in with the crop. So the summary is essentially the starting process where we kind of set our goals And in setting our goals, we try to gauge, are we shooting for the stars, or are we shooting a little bit lower? What's a realistic target to try to hit in a year? And
I noticed you're addressing different crop zones in here. You built that out, and you've just got this summary. What are you guys trying to achieve with this portion of the plan here?
So summary is like sitting down with the client, and basically it aligns with the philosophy they have, right? So what they are actually focusing on. So let's say if a client want to focus on the goal is more yield driven. Some clients have the goal which is more maintaining the soil integrity and the fertility long-term plan, right? So this helps us understand what our end goal is. And as Fritz said, that it actually helps us make more realistic goals. Because I mean, everybody would love 70, 80 bushels canola, right?
Mm.
But then is it feasible to do so on every piece of land that one has, right? So a little bit of what Fritz said, a little bit of what Demetrius said, this is where the history or the record of 8 years, 10 years that we have in the system comes in play, and where we study the trends of the fertilizer that's been applied and how it's been utilized and so on and so forth, right? So that's basically what helps us make the summary, and followed by the description. So description is just a general overview of what we are trying to achieve for the next season, and then we go into a bit of a logistics side of things, where we ask questions about what kind of equipments they have, what kind of softwares they use, because prescriptions, when they get generated, there is always a little bit of an amalgamation that has to happen from our end to their end. So if we know the exact model, the exact make of the equipment, it's just easier operation on both ends, right? And then of course the blend of the fertilizer is quite important. And yeah, so this is a document where we really get a chance to have a couple face-to-face meeting with the client, where we discuss the plan for the upcoming years.
Demetrius, you're providing these kinds of reports for your clients. What do you like to see in the summary? What's the purpose of it? What are you trying to achieve there?
Well, in the summary, what I like to do is to summarize all the issues we might had last season, and what we want to do to change that. For example, for this field, I see that the target is to have a VR fertilization program. And when we have big fields with a huge variation, this is what we try to do as well with our clients. Yeah, like I'm on the same page with Surgro on this matter. Like I try to summarize what also were the things that worked for us the previous years, and what were the challenges and what we want to do going forward. All these years following the old AgriTrend program, we used to write a report for every field. But since last year, I've changed a few things, and I write to summarize what is happening on all the canola fields, for example. So I summarize, I group the crops, like I put a summary for barley or for cereals, and then for canola, corn, whatever, soya beans. And I think this way helps us to have our mind a little bit more organized to what the plan is going to be for next summer. Yeah, like these summaries also help the clients to realize a few things, because summer is so fast. Very few times you have the chance to sit down, take your time, and talk with the clients, because everybody's crazy busy. But in the fall, or during the winter, when we have the time and we have all these summaries, it helps us realize things. I think that's the biggest value of these meetings that we have right now with our clients.
Well, I love how this breaks it down in such a way that it forces you to examine all these different considerations. You have agronomic considerations, you have logistical considerations, you have economic and the coaching, and also that it helps you keep track of what you're working on with the client, what equipment they have, what considerations. Fritz, when you're walking through this with the client, it must help you keep track of the equipment they have and what nutrients you want to work with, or what budgetary concerns, what you're focused on with the coaching to improve it. Fritz, are you
Yes, I'm here, Dan.
yeah, can you speak to that?
Yes, I can. I can. Well, this is just a write up of what we to physically plan to do for the year, and the fact that we write it up means that we have something to refer back to, so the we as a we sit down with the clients and discuss the whole process of how we're going to go ahead with the new year, and then in writing it up, we create a document for the client and for us to refer back to, so that we have a good understanding of the whole process of the planning.
Yeah, I would assume it's a bit of a diary of everything that you've been working on. And as you get things tuned in, then you can start to move on to other things once you get things into balance. Do you guys find that it's a cumulative thing if you're working with fields over the years, that things continue to improve, and when things become a check mark, then you can focus on other things? I like the idea of a yearly coaching focus. Demetrius, has that been your experience?
Yeah, definitely. Very recently, with one of my guys, we realized that we need to do something with the phosphorus applications, because even though we apply close to crop removal, the phosphorus levels are very, very low in soil. So having this experience with what is the history of the fields definitely helps you to have a new targets. But as I said before, like, summer is so quick for everyone, and now for both agronomists and farmers is the best time to have these discussions and make a new plan and realize how we can go forward.
Yeah, well, things are fresh in your mind from the season for sure. I really like that. I really like that roadmap. So here you've got the fields, you've got the acres, you've got the target yields. I also noticed that there's different yield targets. Again, trying to be realistic, as you said, Deep. There's different yield targets for different zones as you guys start to slice and dice according to your variable rate program.
Yeah, that's true.
And you've also got your soil test attached here. This probably gives you a little bit of a roadmap over the years to see how the field is changing. What are you guys looking at here when you see these different zones for the soil tests?
For me, Dan, it is very, very crucial to have very realistic yield targets per zone, especially when you're trying to do VR. And to do that, you need to have access to the data, or to the yield data from previous years, like with the same crop. And as I said, it makes you feel nice when you have a very high yield target. But then when the time comes to do the recommendations and the farmers realize how much nitrogen they have to apply, that makes the discussions very, very interesting. So it is crucial to have realistic yield targets.
I like the idea of also knowing like what you were shooting for, Demetrius, versus what you actually got. Like, are you tracking expectations, or are we 20 to 30% of what we what are planning for every year? And then you can probably adjust budgetary and coaching focuses on that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or do you guys, maybe I shouldn't speak out of turn here, because maybe you guys hit the target every time. Correct me if I'm wrong. You just set a target and hit it. No looking back. Oh, you guys are aggressive.
I mean, I guess it's all about improving the odds of hitting the goals, right? Like it's that's the proof in the pudding.
Yeah. And we had another example here too. I could bring up of the, I think it was more of like a fertility map and whatnot. I love these pretty pictures. Fert app. So walk me through what we're seeing here. It looks fantastic. It looks very scientific. I don't know if this is from NASA or from Sure Growth or agronomy. It's very technical.
Well,
Walk me through what
Dan,
this is.
what you see there is essentially a variable rate map. And at Sure Growth, we use the latest technology in generating these variable rate maps. We can look at different years of satellite imagery to identify the highest yielding areas in the field, and then we go and sample those areas individually. So all the sampling are being done according to these yield areas, and then we take the next step of doing the fertilization on top of those zones individually. And so what you're looking at here is how we plan to put down the fertilizer in each one of those zones, and we customize our fertilizer application to the point where we put the correct fertilizer in the correct part of the field. And this is just a virtual or image to show you how we do that.
Yeah. What are you guys seeing here, Deep? Demetris, go ahead. What are you seeing here?
No, I just wanted to add on what I like on these reports is that you have the tank 1 rate, you have the tank 2 rate. So the operator needs to have this report with him when he's on the when he applies the fertilizers, and you can see the rates, so he can prove that everything works properly, because this is the most stressful time during the spring, like to make sure that the prescription works, right? So when you see that the rate, what the rate you have on the monitor is exactly the rate you have on the paper, and you have exactly what the tank 1, which products you have there, which products you have on tank 2. I like how easy it is for the operator, how easy makes his life when he has a report like this one. It's crucial, and it's very, very helpful. Like when I cannot imagine some, because I know some guys, they don't have anything with them, the operators, when they apply the fertilizers, but this is all they need. It makes their life so easy.
I really thought, Bob Ross, that you were going to tell us how you paint this. I don't know, it's like paint by number. I was expecting
He actually
you to show
does
us
that for all of his 400 fields, Dan.
Yeah, I do it manually.
I'm just gonna paint some variable rate for you here today.
Yeah.
Oh, Bob Ross, God bless Bob Ross. Tyke Myson, what are you seeing? If you can see anything, if the screen isn't just blurry from all those concussions, are you able to see this here?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, actually, I was just going to mention what Demetris said. This report comes in so much handy, especially for the operator, because to have the numbers and a picture in front of you, it just makes so much sense. Once you are in the equipment, running the equipment, you get to know what zones you're in, and how much is tank 1 and tank 2 is putting out at that respective time, right? So this is an amazing little. So I guess what we do is we make a file. At the end of the crop plan, once we have settled down everything, we make a beautiful folder that has all the information in, with the soil test and this and that and everything. So it's like one pack that a person can take, get into the seeder, and that's the Bible. You can just turn to whatever field, whatever plan we have, and then off you go, and it has the numbers, it has the diagrams, and it comes in really, really handy. It's an excellent report.
I'm wondering, as you guys go through the year and you're working through different operations, you're working through seeding, and then you get into herbicide and fungicide, and maybe you're doing some variable rate there, top dressing, variable rate fungicide, different considerations, the yield maps. Does that all go into one bin? Is that all tracked together? Or are things organized in such a way that you have a folder on all the different fields? How do you guys track that? Like, would this be part and parcel of keeping track of what's going on in that field?
Dan, we've got we utilize a very good software program, Trumbull, which we use to archive all this information. So we can really drill down in each one of the fields that we manage to since we start with the fields. So all this information is at the tip of our fingertips, available anytime for us and the client, because the client have got full access to this information on Trimble as well. So it's not only the agronomist has access to it, but the clients also have access to it. And one thing that I would like to, while we looked at that map, that I would like to comment on, some of the feedback that I got back from one of our clients was really yeah, let me feel very good about it. Is the fact that is if he sits in the combine and he looks at that rates looking out the window, he said that he clearly wanted to cut down the fertilizer. And as soon as he crossed into the area where he wanted to cut down on the fertilizer, the system started to cut down on it itself. So it's really nice to get that feedback from the farmer that these kind of maps really is fairly accurate. Even if you apply it in practice.
Well, I love that idea. And when you have a plan, that allows you to have discipline, to stick to the plan, no matter, what your intuition is. Sometimes your intuition might be right. Sometimes your intuition might be wrong.
Yes,
but if you've got a plan and you stick to it, I don't know, maybe some folks like to color outside the lines too. But if we just did everything on a gut feeling in farming, it's got to be pretty tough, from, selling your grain to buying inputs to planning, budget and fertility and all that. If we're doing it strictly on emotion without a written plan, I don't know that it's quite as good from a business perspective. I really appreciate the question that came in here. I'm going to read this here shortly. Just encourage anybody who's on the call that has a question. We're getting to the top of the hour, but feel free to ask these. We have Tyke Myson on the call. We have Bob Ross on the call, and we also have Spider-Man on the call. And I'm Batman, in case you didn't know. So feel free to ask us according to our respective talents here. But Joshua Leffers is asking, how difficult on dry land is it to make good top dressing decisions? Have you had challenges with losing yield when you don't have the right conditions to top dress the other 50%, or do you adjust that in season? Thank you. Who would like to take that?
Yeah, definitely. Before you decide to make some additional applications, you have to check the weather. And for example, you want to apply to apply some extra nitrogen, and there is nothing in the forecast for some precipitation, then you need to decide what is the best product you can do it. Like if you just apply urea, you're going to have significant losses unless you have at least some dew in the morning or some rain, and then you have to think if you can apply some liquid nitrogen. But on dry land is always a challenge to decide what to do. But you can only try to take the best decision. And sometimes, like it happened to me, we had the forecast that we're going to have some rain, and the rain never came. So it's a gamble. Yeah. What you can do in these cases. But in summer, like in our area, let's say, most of the times, first thing in the morning, there is enough dew that will make things work with one or the other way. So, or you can apply something foliar at the end of the day. If you think and if you have all the information that there is going to be value of your application, then go and do a foliar application if you have the time. But always the logistic is an issue. Like if at the same time you have to spray or to do other things, how you can change your plan. So yeah, it's a huge problem.
All I can say is, I mean, a man with a tie like yourself, whatever you say has got to be golden. I mean, we got to take it, you know, for face value. So the tie makes it work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna have Terry come on here and make some final comments as we start to wrap things up, but he's a little bit busy with the kids and it's pretty loud, so we won't bring him on there. It's probably chaos in the morning, but yeah, I think we're getting close to wrapping this up. If there's no further
If I can add
questions,
something,
yeah,
if I can add
please do. Please
something
do.
more, John, I just want to remember everyone, like all the farmers and all the agronomists, that when we are looking at the soil test report, this is the average. This represents exactly the average of the field. So when you have a pH of 6, that means that probably in some parts of the field the pH is 4, and in some others is 8. So never forget about that. This is very important, and that can help you realize few things, and it can help you to have a better plan. When the pH, when the phosphorus levels, for example, on your fields is 4 ppm, that means that in some parts of the field there is nearly nothing. And you need to understand what the numbers represent, and you need to read very properly a soil test report. And to do that, you need an agronomist. But everybody needs to understand what these numbers tells you. That's my take-home message, if I can put it
that's
this
an
way.
excellent point, Demetrius.
Yeah, well said. Well, take us home then. Deep, what are your final comments on having a plan when you're getting punched in the face?
Well,
you're the expert, of
I would
course.
say to have one is better than none, right? So at least it gives us a chance to sit down with the grower, align our thoughts with each other, and at least we have a plan rather than having nothing in hands, right? So it gives us a really good clarity. Following the 10-step program, it synchronizes us and makes us a conscious effort of putting things down on a piece of paper and makes one visualize how they want to see the next year and the year after and the year after, right? So psychologically, it helps you plan ahead of time, and I think that's the value of this. And of course, the summary that we went through, that also helps. So these are small ingredients that helps agronomist and the client to stay on track. So absolutely, to have a plan and circumstantially not make a goal is always better than not have a plan and go nowhere.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Great points. What about you, Fritz? What's your final comments here?
Well, I think my final comment is you know, as farmers we know that the punches are coming. So that's the one thing that is constant. The punches are definitely coming. And so this whole process of we know that these punches are coming. If we do the planning correct, we can anticipate these punches much better, and we are much more confident as fighters, you know, going forward, because we've got a plan. You know, we kind of start to anticipate things better. You know, it's just not just a punch in the face. We know it's coming. So we, you know, the whole planning process make us as agronomists and farmers be better prepared, and that to me is the most important part. You know, that you know, we by planning it out together, and we are actually increasing our probability of getting success.
Increasing our probability of success. I love it, especially when you're getting punched in the face by weather and markets, and you know, your dog ran away and the half ton broke down, and it's basically a country song often down on the ranch.
Oh, yeah.
I want to thank everybody for joining us today. I hope you got huge value out of that. I'll never forget a good agronomist friend of mine who, when I asked him what constitutes a good producer, you work with all kinds of different farmers, you see all kinds of different styles, what works well, and he talked about the folks that are really successful year after year plan a course and stick to the course, and they're not moved off that course by fads, or they're not jumping in and out of different crops that they think might be better that year. They're not necessarily trying to predict the weather. You know, you just have a plan and you stick to it, and all the variables that you can't control, well, you know, you can exercise control over that. You just have to accept that. But by having a plan, I think we do much better in business incrementally over the long term, and you guys are a big part of that. So I always really enjoy these conversations with agronomists. To me, agronomists are like Jedi. I mean, it's just like voodoo or magic. How you guys do what you do, it's pretty magical. And anybody who's got the bravery to put their opinion and their advice and their skills and their talents forward as a service, I think takes courage, and always respect and appreciate what agronomists do out there. And it's all about producing more. So I hope everybody has a great, safe Halloween. I'm sure everybody else on this call is getting dressed up as well as us, not just us, but I appreciate the Halloween spirit. Hopefully it's made it a little bit more fun and entertaining for everybody on the call. There'll be a recording available later for this on YouTube, and everybody have a great Halloween season. And we are headed to AgriTrade next week in Alberta. I hope to see some folks at the trade show there. It's going to be very fun. And thanks to Tyke Mason, thanks to Bob Ross, and thanks to Spider-Man for coming out for this superhero event. So,
but I think Batman, it was not by accident that we cannot see the Spider-Man anymore. I think something happened there.
it might be
Something
staying.
happened, yeah.
I'm gonna.
There is.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced that was by accident. Spider-Man.
Demetrius, I'm much better looking than you are, man.
Wow, it's on. It's on. Them is fighting words. Well, thanks everybody. Have a great Halloween, and hopefully that was informative. Take care.
Thank you
Have
very
a good
much.
day.
Have a good
Thank you.
day, everyone.
Everybody.
Happy Halloween.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
happy Halloween.